I did not plan to read it tonight. I only wanted to clean my desk before the year ended. It was the last day of the year. Tomorrow would be a new one. The room was quiet. Outside, people were already getting ready to celebrate. Inside, I was alone. My coffee was cold. I forgot to drink it. I opened a drawer I do not use often. I was looking for nothing in particular. That is when I found it. One folded page. I knew what it was before I opened it. My plans for this year. I sat down and unfolded the paper. The paper was thin and soft from many folds. The ink looked lighter than I remembered. At the top, I had written one sentence. This year, I will do these things. I stopped there for a moment. When I wrote that line, the year had just begun. I was calm. I was sure. I believed that writing meant deciding. Below the sentence, there were 7 lines. 7 plans. I had not numbered them. I did not think order mattered. I read the first line. Read 30 books. I smiled. Not because it was funny. Because it felt familiar. I picked up a pen. I drew a check mark next to the line. Then, I paused. Was that true? I crossed the check mark out. Then, I drew a small circle instead. I did read books. Just not 30. I read some slowly. I stopped many in the middle. One book stayed with me for months. I looked at the next lines, but did not read them yet. I folded the page once, and unfolded it again. This paper was not a list anymore. It was proof of how I lived this year. I did not feel proud. I did not feel disappointed. I felt clear. This year was not a success story. It was not a failure either. It was a year where I tried, stopped, tried again, and changed my mind. Some plans ended early. Some plans became smaller. One plan followed me all year, even when I told myself I had forgotten it. I did not know that when I wrote this page. I thought planning was enough. Now, the year was ending. The page was still here. I placed it flat on the desk. Tomorrow, I would write a new date. Tonight, I wanted to be honest. I took a breath and looked at the first line again. Then, I began to remember how it really happened. The first plan was simple. Read 30 books. When I wrote it, it felt reasonable. 30 was not a big number. It was less than 1 book a week. In January, I tried hard. I made a list. I downloaded an app to track my reading. I carried a book in my bag. I read on the train. I read before bed. I felt like the kind of person who reads. By February, I was behind. I told myself I would catch up. By March, I stopped counting. Some days, I was too tired to read. Some days, I opened a book and closed it again. I blamed my phone. I blamed my job. I blamed my short attention span. The truth was simpler. I did not always want to read. I started many books and finished few. I felt bad each time I quit. I thought quitting meant failing. Then, one book changed that. It was not long. It was not famous. I read it slowly, without tracking it in the app. I read the same pages, again and again. I did not rush. I did not check my progress. That book stayed with me after I finished it. I thought about it while walking. I remembered lines while doing the dishes. When I looked back at my plan, I understood something. I did not fail because I read fewer books. I failed because I treated reading like a task. I did not read 30 books. I read less than half of that. Still, I became someone who reads to understand, not to complete a number. That is why I drew a circle, not a check mark. The plan did not happen as I imagined. But something real did. I moved my finger down the page. The next line was waiting. The second plan was about my body. Exercise 3 times a week. I wrote it with confidence. I had written it many years before. This time, I believed it would be different. In January, I joined a gym. I bought new shoes. I went early in the morning. I liked the feeling at first. My body felt awake. I liked checking the days on a calendar. 3 times a week became 2. Then 2 became 1. Some mornings, I woke up tired. Some evenings, I stayed at work too long. I told myself I would go tomorrow. Tomorrow came and went. By spring, I stopped going to the gym. I felt bad about it. I avoided walking past the building. For a while, I told myself I was lazy. That word stayed with me longer than the plan. Then something small changed. I stopped thinking about exercise as a rule. I stopped counting days. I walked instead. I took the stairs. I got off the bus one stop early. On weekends, I went outside without a plan. I moved because I wanted to clear my head. Not because I wanted to complete a goal. My body changed slowly. More than that, my mind did. Exercise was not something I failed at. It was something I misunderstood. I did not exercise 3 times a week. I moved more than I did last year. That felt honest. I did not draw a check mark. I did not cross the line out either. I left it open. I looked at the next plan on the page. It was written in a different ink. The third plan was simple, on the page. Learn French. I wrote it at the start of the year. I did not have a clear reason. I just liked how it sounded. I thought it would fit into my life. In January, I downloaded an app. I bought a small notebook. I studied after work. At first, I followed the lessons. I repeated words out loud. I practiced every day for a few weeks. Then, the lessons became harder. I needed more time. I needed more focus. Some days, I skipped practice. Some days, I forgot about it. By spring, I stopped studying. I did not finish the course. I did not go back to it. I did not learn French. I knew it was a failure. I did not try to explain it away. A few months later, something happened. I was sitting in a cafe near my office. Two people at the next table were speaking French. I was not trying to listen. But I understood a few words. I knew when they ordered. I knew when they paid. I could not follow everything. Most of it was still unclear. But that moment told me something. What I had studied did not disappear. It stayed with me, in a small way. I still failed at this plan. I was clear about that. But I also saw that effort leaves a trace. Even when a plan ends early. That mattered to me. Next time, I would set a smaller goal. Something closer to my daily life. I crossed the plan out. I did not feel upset when I did. I turned the page. The next plan was about money. I took my time before reading it. The next plan was about money. Save more money. I stared at that line for a while. It felt heavier than the others. I had written a clear number next to it. I believed numbers would keep me honest. In January, I opened a new savings account. I set an automatic transfer. I felt responsible. For the first few months, it worked. I checked my balance often. The number went up slowly. Then, spring came. I met friends more often. I ate out more. I traveled on short weekends. Each time, I told myself, it was fine. Just this once. Just this month. The automatic transfer stayed. But I started moving money back. I knew what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was doing. By summer, I stopped checking the account. The number was no longer important to me. At the end of summer, I looked again. I had saved some money. Not the amount I planned. I felt disappointed. But not surprised. I saw the problem clearly. The plan did not match my life. I like spending money on time with people. I do not regret that. Still, I wanted more control. I changed the plan. I stopped chasing a big number. I tracked small habits instead. I cooked more meals at home. I bought fewer things I did not need. I paid attention when I spent. The money did not grow fast. But I felt calmer. I did not cross the plan out. I changed it. I drew a small note next to the line. Not a promise. Just a reminder. I turned the page again. The next plan was about time. About how I wanted to live my days. This plan was about my mornings. Use time better. I decided to wake up earlier. Not to rush. But to do important things before work. In the morning, I wanted to plan my day. I wanted to read a few pages of a book. Sometimes, I wanted to exercise. I believed a good morning would change my day. At first, it worked. I woke up early. I stayed calm. I went to work feeling ready. Then, the plan started to break. After work, I stayed on my phone too long. I scrolled without thinking. Even when I went to bed early, I stayed awake. I looked at my phone in bed. Time passed. Sleep came late. Because of that, I slept less. Because of that, mornings became hard. Some days, I missed the alarm. Some days, I turned it off and stayed in bed. I knew the problem. It was not the morning. It was the night before. So, I made a small rule. I stopped using my phone in bed. At least, I tried to. Some nights, I failed. I checked my phone again. But many nights, I did better. When I slept earlier, I woke up more easily. When I slept well, my day felt easier. I did not follow this plan perfectly. I still do not. But I am still working on it. And it is helping. This plan did not fail. It is not finished either. I believe it is working. Because I keep going. I did not cross this plan out. I turned the page. The last plan was there. The last plan was clear. End my crush. It was the final goal of the year. I wanted a result. Either we would be together. Or I would stop liking him. He was my coworker. I had liked him for a long time. But only in my head. I decided to change that. I stopped waiting. I started acting. I talked to him more at work. I asked simple questions. I stayed longer when we talked. When he needed help, I offered it. When he looked busy, I waited. I paid attention. Slowly, things changed. We were no longer just coworkers. We talked like friends. I learned what he liked. I learned what he cared about. He liked cars. He read about them. He watched videos about them. I remembered that. One day, I told him I had tickets to a car show. I asked if he wanted to go with me. The tickets were expensive. I had bought them myself. I did not tell him that. He said yes. That was our first real time alone. We walked together. We talked for hours. I listened more than I spoke. After that, I kept trying. I made plans. I asked him out again. I did not hide my interest. I did not push too hard either. I told myself one thing. If it worked, that was good. If it did not, I could let go. I had done enough. Time passed. Now, it was the last day of the year. Tomorrow would be a new one. I was at home. The list was on my table. This plan was not crossed out. It was not changed. Then, the doorbell rang. I knew who it was. I walked to the door and opened it. He was standing there. My boyfriend. He came to spend the last night of the year with me. And the first day of the next one. That plan was a success.